Recently, reporter Natalie Skoland traveled to the small town of Circo, Colombia, to catch a late afternoon circus show.
And I can already see this big yellow tent.
Y le seguimos haciendo la cordial invitación a todos los habitantes del municipio de Sutamarchán. Malabaristas, equilibristas, acróbatas, magos, no se lo vayan a perder.
Here in a rural town just a couple of hours' drive out of Bogotá, this isn't just any circus.
Mucho gusto, soy el soldado profesional Cárdenas Luis Javier.
Soldado profesional Tucara Mendoza. Soldado profesional Martínez.
El soldado profesional Castillo.
Around the tent, about a dozen soldiers stand tall in army green camouflage uniforms, looking like soldiers often do. Expression serious, gazes focused straight ahead. But only a few of these guys are actually there to guard the show. The rest, they are...
Trapecista, equilibrista, payaso.
Gimnasta.
Pulsador en equilibrio de alturas. Monociclista. Malabarista también.
Trapeze artists, clowns, unicyclists. There to juggle balls, perform flawless flips, and most importantly, make the audience scream. Right, so Colombia has a military circus. It might be the only one of its kind in the world. But why have Colombian soldiers been drafted to don clown makeup and perform high-flying acts over the past few decades? And how does fantasy and laughter fit into the Colombian military's defense plan when there's a decades-long armed conflict considered one of the longest-running civil wars in the world going on in the country? I'm Lacey Healy, and that is today on Things That Go Boom. There is a lot of news right now. Immigration enforcement, AI and the future of work, questions about presidential power and the economy, big stories that move fast and can be difficult to make sense of. That's why NPR's Consider This slows down to focus on one major story at a time. What's happening, why it matters, and what you need to know. And they do it all in under 15 minutes. This is the big thing for me, because I love to listen to my news, but I don't always have a lot of time. And I love how clearly Consider This explains the bigger picture, not just politics, but what those changes could mean for government, institutions, and daily life, from aliens to the Iran war and everything in between. The podcast is hosted by the award-winning journalists behind NPR's All Things Considered, who know it's not enough to just tell you what happened. They help you understand why. Follow NPR's Consider This podcast and keep asking why.
This show is supported by Blue Land. We hear a lot about microplastics in oceans and food, but they can also come from products we use every day at home, including cleaning products. Blue Land is on a mission to make it easy for everyone to make sustainable choices. Blue Land believes that hardworking, clean products can be the norm, not the exception, so that you can do better for your family and the planet at the same time. From cleaning sprays and toilet bowl cleaner to dishwasher and laundry detergent tablets, Blue Land's products are independently tested to perform alongside major brands, and the formulas are free from dyes, parabens, and harsh chemicals. You'll love not having to choose between the safe option and what actually gets your house clean. Blue Land is a certified B Corp and Leaping Bunny cruelty-free certified. Their formulas are EPA's Safer Choice certified, and many products have also earned Cradle to Cradle's Gold Material Health Certificate. If you're looking to make a small change in your routine, you can get 15% off your first order at blueland.com/prx. Get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/prx. blueland.com/prx.
Circo Colombia is off the beaten track, an hour from the nearest highway down a narrow 2-lane road, but in many ways, it's the quintessential Colombian pueblo. There's a giant church here. There's a little sign that says, "Si hay helados." There's ice cream here. When I arrive, a line of locals snakes around the side of a giant show tent that might just be the biggest structure in town. Uniformed soldiers hand out bags of popcorn for about 25 cents a pop, while a few stray dogs prance around the stage. And people of all ages take their seats for the show. I'll admit I'm a bit shocked at first. Two soldiers whip off their camo shirts and begin showing off fire stunts, waving a torch over their bare skin and breathing out fire as if it were air. Then comes a high-flying trapeze artist, a magician, an acrobat. At one point, clowns take the stage, bringing the crowd to hysterics. I can't help but feel tension in the air. Soldiers in full uniform perform as if they've got no care in the world, while just outside the tent, soldiers in the same uniforms hold machine guns.
In the U.S., Colombia has long been associated with things like cocaine and drug lords like Pablo Escobar. But the country's history of conflict is much more complex.
It's been over half a century since a Marxist guerrilla group, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC, took up arms in a bitter war against the Colombian state.
Since the 1960s, leftist guerrillas, the Colombian military, and right-wing paramilitaries have all been involved in the violence. And over time, the international drug trade has fueled that violence. Millions have been displaced, and hundreds of thousands of Colombians have been forcibly disappeared, meaning that they're reported missing and usually assumed dead. Natalie Skoland has been reporting from Colombia for the past few years.
Living in Colombia, you feel the impacts of conflict wherever you go. I pass the faces of those murdered and disappeared on wall murals and makeshift posters as I walk through Bogotá. This is a country still healing from war, even as conflict continues in parts of the country.
Violence erupted in Colombia over the weekend, marking one of the deadliest for the country in years.
What many people don't realize is that for decades, Colombia was also considered one of the U.S.'s strongest allies in Latin America. In fact, the U.S. was a major backer of the 2016 peace accords that disarmed the leftist guerrilla group, the FARC.
The Colombian government and the FARC are due to sign a revised peace deal Thursday to end the conflict that has killed more than 200,000 people and forced millions more Colombians from their homes.
Still, Colombians refuse to let their grief get the best of them. The country is home to the self-described world capital of salsa. Its raucous Carnival celebration is said to be one of the largest in the world, and it has one of the highest numbers of public holidays, almost double the US. But even knowing all that, when I returned to Colombia a couple years ago, I was still surprised by the circus. Jugglers, fire blowers, and tightrope walkers busking at intersections, students juggling on campus. I even had a friend who had a one-night stand with a circus performer. To this American, circus seemed to be everywhere. But I still didn't expect Colombia's conflict and circus to mix. That is, until I met folks like Luis Javier Cárdenas, also known by his clown name, San Cochito. When I first meet him, he's in full military uniform with short buzzed hair. Just a couple hours later, he reappears in the circus, flying high above the crowd and doing impossible flips with just one rope. Then reappearing as a clown made up in bright makeup and a brilliant green suit. He's been doing this in the military for 17 years now. But the military circus wasn't his first rodeo.
Yo tengo una historia muy particular porque
I have a pretty unique backstory. Growing up in town, I had the chance to see a circus show, and I ended up befriending the circus performers. They suggested I join the circus. So at 13 years old, I decided to go with them.
Growing up in a town of just a few thousand people during a time when travel around the country is precarious amid ongoing conflict, he's ready to spread his wings and explore.
El circo es de viajar, viajar, viajar y conocer municipios.
You're traveling all the time with the circus, visiting other towns and regions. I wanted to experience that.
He travels with the Hermanos Daza Circus for several years, and then goes on to work other odd jobs around the region, selling flowers, painting, welding, the like. But military service is obligatory, and eventually, Cardenas is called to go. One day early on in his service, he notices something that piques his curiosity: a circus tent, and soldiers traipsing around it.
Yo me acerqué por allá con la curiosidad.
I approached the tent out of curiosity. I thought, how cool. They're going to put on some sort of show for the soldiers. But no, it was the military circus that they were setting up.
It is indeed the military circus. Cardenas is intrigued and passes the soldiers his contact info. A couple months later, surprise!
A los 2 meses,
2 months later, I got a call. They told me I'd be completing my military service as a member of Circo Colombia.
So Cardenas spends his draft time in the service of the circus. When his requisite time in the army comes to an end, he has a decision to make: to stay or to go.
dije, no, yo tengo que seguir.
I thought, no, I have to stay. It's such a beautiful way to serve, bringing joy and happiness to people.
But this isn't the first time Cardenas encounters the military circus. A certain memory from his childhood has stayed with him through the years. See, Cardenas' hometown of Bogotá wasn't always tranquil.
Para nadie es un secreto que...
It's no secret that back then, things were a little complicated here, with criminal groups and the like.
The 90s and early 2000s, when Cardenas was growing up, saw some of the heaviest periods of conflict in Colombia. Rural areas were disproportionately impacted. Guerrilla groups found it easier to control remote areas far from major cities and thoroughfares, and further from the reach of centralized government.
Cuando el Circo Colombia del Ejército Nacional vino en esa fecha que yo tenía
When the National Military Circo Colombia came to town, I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. We kids were curious about it. But at that time, our parents and grandparents told us, don't go. Something could happen. They were suspicious.
O sea, sí venían al circo.
I mean, sure, they'd go to the circus too, but they'd go with a sense that something could happen, as well as curiosity to see what the soldiers were capable of. But today, families go. Kids go. They're not afraid to go to the circus. They know they'll have a good time.
Let's get back to the roots of this for a minute. This military circus began a few decades back with just one troupe in the early 90s. Supposedly, it was the brainchild of a soldier who came from a family of circus performers. But over time, the circus arm of Colombia's military has grown pretty significantly. Today, 8 soldier circuses roam the country. Military officials say that the soldier circus is part of a larger effort to provide a social good for Colombian communities, especially those in remote and conflict-afflicted parts of the country. It's meant to help build trust in the country's armed forces and also encourage people to denounce wrongdoings that they see in their own communities.
Es una de las formas de llegarle a la comunidad.
It's one of the ways to reach communities and regions affected by the conflict, so that children start to view the military through a different light and see that we're not only here to combat crime, but also to bring joy and put smiles on faces.
But it's not quite that simple. Many of these communities, particularly in rural areas, have complicated relationships with state armed forces, who haven't always proven themselves to be in defense of the people. In fact, according to other media reports, the military's band of active duty soldiers turned clowns exists in part to help change the military's image in some of these communities where charges of corruption and extrajudicial killings are part and parcel. One of the most famous episodes of this is called the False Positives Scandal. It involved the murders of as many as 8,000 civilians, many of them from rural areas, by the Colombian military in the 2000s to artificially boost numbers of combatants killed.
Somos una institución a la que
We, as an institution, will always be a target for armed groups.
Francie Guzman and her 87-year-old mother, Ana Pinzon, are at the circus in Supata. Ana has attended a number of shows already, and she's highly impressed.
magnífico, muy bonito.
But her daughter Francie has a different take. She says that she's used to seeing soldiers on patrol around town, but what are they doing in a circus?
Hay algo, no sé, hay algo oscuro.
She says there's something strange going on.
Como si estuvieran de pronto haciendo otra cosa detrás de todo esto.
As if there were something going on behind the scenes.
Como un espionaje.
Something like espionage.
This show is supported by Odoo. When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Francie isn't alone. Some Colombian government officials are conflicted over what to think about the military circus. Take Rosa Elena Gonzalez Moreno, the director of the Culture Ministry's Circus Arts program. It was formed a few years ago to help direct government investments and development efforts to circus arts countrywide. Previously, Circus had been couched under a broader umbrella of government funding for the performing arts, relegating circus artists to fight with other performing arts professionals for resources.
Yo tuve una conversación hace 2 años como con el mayor o el capitán, yo ya ni me acuerdo el cargo que tenía.
A few years ago, Gonzalez Moreno touched base with an official representing the military circus. She had some concerns on behalf of the circus performers that she represents countrywide.
Y le manifesté estas inquietudes, pues obviamente.
But she knew to draw the line when the subject of money came up. The military circus could benefit from some of the Culture Ministry's funds, he told her.
Porque hacían circo.
Because, she recalls him saying, they too perform the circus.
Entonces yo como que entré un poco en trance y le dije como eso no va a suceder, querido amigo.
Well, Gonzalez Moreno was baffled, she says. And she told him that's just not going to happen, my dear friend. We asked about the military circus's annual budget, but we were told that the circus doesn't get its own line item. So it'd be nearly impossible to tell how much money gets spent on soldier clowns and big yellow circus tents each year. What we do know is that last year saw Colombia's largest defense budget in the past decade, according to a government report. For her part, Gonzalez Moreno doesn't doubt that the military circus can succeed in making people laugh and cheer. But it's also caused a lot of problems for independent circus artists. She says that the military's ability to offer circus shows for free and skip permitting requirements affects traditional family circuses, who make a living traveling from town to town selling tickets to shows. She also claims that the military may use these circus ventures for intelligence gathering purposes. When we asked Major Fernando Gomez, an appointed military circus spokesperson, whether gathering intelligence was part of circus operations, he said that part of the circus's goal is to gain people's trust in order to encourage reports of suspicious activity and crime, but not necessarily with the expectation that it will be reported directly to the military. But it doesn't always work that way, according to one former circus soldier named Jonathan Hernandez. Or, as he's known in the circus, just so you know, Hernandez taught himself English with no formal training.
what was the purpose of the circus in the military? Why is there a circus in the Colombian military?
We are soldiers, but we are friends. You can believe the military.
A way to show a friendlier face in public.
And also, for me, it was very important for intelligence. If I go like military with the gun, tell me information, you don't give me the information. And if I arrive like a clown, maybe you can say, you are very good, and you give me information.
So a soldier dressed as a clown might be able to gather some local secrets that holding a gun in hand would be nearly impossible.
Hernandez says that was one of his least favorite parts of the job. But the circus also gave him a lot of opportunities. He grew up in one of the poorest, most conflict-ridden parts of Bogotá, called Ciudad Bolivar.
Ciudad Bolivar is poor. The people for the war coming in Bogotá for new opportunity. My family arrived here like this.
Hernandez's family, like so many during the height of Colombia's conflict a few decades back, fled their rural home seeking less violence and more opportunities in the big city.
The war was very, very, very difficult, very hard for the people.
But eventually, Hernandez's mother decides she needs to leave the city and return to the mountains. She doesn't take Hernandez with her.
I need to stay here because in this moment I was 12 years old. For her, it was very difficult to take with her because for the guerrilla, they take the children for the war, and she don't want that.
If he were to go with her, his mother feared Hernandez could be recruited into an armed group. So Hernandez stays in Ciudad Bolivar.
In this moment, I got the house and food, but I don't have support.
Living away from his parents isn't easy.
Not my space, not my family, like Harry Potter.
You're never going back to that school. You're never going to see those freaky friends of yours again. Never!
They don't care about me.
Suffice to say, he doesn't feel very welcome and accepted, and he has no one else to lean on. So he finds his own way.
I need to go to the street for eat, for everything. And
How old were you?
14 years old.
He also discovers another way to make money.
Working the traffic light with juggling and fire. It's my first time with the circus.
Hernandez finds that working as a street performer brings in the pesos he needs to literally survive. He has to fend for himself, finding his own food and sometimes even other places to sleep.
Boom, I find in the circus opportunity and a family. I don't find the circus find me. Wow. I always say this.
One day, some men in uniform show up and tell Hernandez he's joining the military. So they just found you.
Yeah.
And said you're going.
Yeah, stay and go. I remember this moment when the military take me juggling.
It's 2003, and military service is obligatory for young men. It's not uncommon to literally be taken off a street corner and enlisted, especially in poorer neighborhoods. But it turns out, life is better for Hernandez after he joins the military. He gets 3 meals a day, fresh clothes, and a place to sleep at night. One day toward the beginning of his army training, Hernandez recalls a conversation with a military leader. He mentions the military circus and asks if Hernandez is interested.
He told me, here is a circus military. You really? There is a circus military? Yes, if you want to go, I can help you. Yes, I want. I see the circus, but I don't think I can do my military service at the circus.
The Colombian military and the circus share some things in common. The Colombian military has historically included disproportionate numbers of soldiers from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. The circus in Colombia has also traditionally attracted people looking to escape instability due to war or poverty.
I interview a lot of young people displaced by violence or poverty or because their parents didn't care for them.
That's Olga Lucia Sorzano, a Colombian circus historian in Bogotá.
They just leave their homes, their towns, and they are just traveling, and they found a circus big top, and then they get a job. And that is the way in which people try to overcome or to keep living despite of conflict, poverty, corruption, and the lack of opportunities that this country has.
Like Hernandez, many performers first pick up circus tricks out of necessity, as a way to earn money informally on street corners, juggling balls, or breathing fire at traffic lights.
What you find here is a massive movement of street art and circus everywhere. In the main cities of Colombia, you find artists at the traffic lights. That's the place where they train, where they perform, where they learn their art form and the way that they entertain audiences in the streets.
Circus's adaptability and accessibility has meant that it often welcomes society's misfits. In a sense, everyone can find a place in the circus.
Circus is more like a peer-to-peer art form, and it's an art form from its conception. I don't know how to say that. It has rooms for everybody. So you have the flexible, you have the strong person, you have the freak.
Circus's existence on the margins of society has throughout history often posed a threat to the more supposedly elite art forms like theater and ballet.
They start saying that circus was lowbrow, that it wasn't a cultivated art form. So then there is this kind of fight for recognition, and in the end it's a fight for resources. So circus has had that kind of struggles all the time. In Colombia in 2009, circus was recognized because of a protest of traditional clowns that marched from Santander in the north to Bogotá in the center, claiming social and social benefits and education and so on.
You heard that right. A march of Colombian clowns protesting for fair labor rights. But back to Hernandez.
After his initial military training is done, Hernandez joins the military circus. He learns new tricks like acrobatics. He travels with his troupe of circus soldiers from town to town. Sometimes they perform in places a circus has never been before. He spends 7 years serving in the military circus. But all the while, something eats at him.
I am grateful for the Circus military, but I don't like the military life. The military, they don't think, only silence and goes. If the superiors say, stay here, I'm stay here, go sleep, go sleep.
And Hernandez notices the impact the soldier circus has on young audiences. He recalls a child who came up to him after a show.
And she smiled me and asked me, what do you do? I want to do that.
But when that same child sees Hernandez holding a gun later on, she gets scared.
Then that is not good.
Hernandez realizes something is wrong.
I want my hands for juggling, I want my hands for handstand, I want hands for dance, for say, everything.
But as a soldier, he is also forced to use his hands
for death, for killer, for the war.
Every time he holds a gun, he says,
I'm feeling sucio.
Dirty, he says.
I don't know, don't like. It's not myself, that is not me, it's another person.
He decides he has to leave the military, but he isn't about to give up on the circus. With the circus training he received in the military, Hernandez is accepted to a prestigious international circus school in Italy. So he goes, with only about 200 euros to his name and a dream to become a true professional circus artist. It's there in Italy, scraping by, that he realizes why he had to leave the army.
I want to be artist, and one artist feeling is with the air, with the soul. For me, in this moment, I understand. Why I do circus? For life, for transmitir, for to bring another person, myself.
Share your feelings.
Yes, share everything.
Eventually, Hernandez returns to his home city of Bogotá and begins performing circus professionally. He also takes a position teaching circus arts as a professor at a local university.
Circo, circo, circo!
He even imagines someday starting his own professional circus school in Colombia. Circus, to him, is
Esperanza, life. I think to do circus in this country where we don't have a lot of opportunity, sí, es como sinónimo de fuerza, de rebelión, de libertad, de lucha.
Circus in Colombia represents strength, rebellion, freedom.
Nuestro primer acto de resiliencia. No podemos cambiar el mundo, pero el circo sí cambió nuestro propio mundo.
We can't change the world, Hernandez says, but circus can transform our inner worlds.
Entiendo todo lo que me has querido. Tus glorias.
Meanwhile, back in Bogotá, this is a circus show that ends with an ode to an honorable death. As a soldier in the Colombian military.
Morir. Morir por defenderte.
The same soldiers who moments before donned clown suits or performed acrobatic stunts now stand solemnly in the middle of the stage in full uniform, kneeling beneath a giant red, yellow, and blue Colombian flag.
Los soldados colombianos, los queremos mucho. Chao, chao. Dios los bendiga.
Next time on Things That Go Boom.
That surveillance system that had been building in the early Xi Jinping years was allowed to fully come to fruition. Things like people's COVID status would be linked to their phone. So it became normal for everybody's movement and health to be tracked at all times.
Things That Go Boom is distributed by Inkstick Media and PRX. This episode was reported and produced by Natalie Skoland and edited by me and Nico Bell. Thanks also to Fernando Hernandez for his voiceover work. Our music is composed by Darian Schulman, and Computer City Productions makes our show sound its very best. Thanks to our supporters, the Carnegie Corporation of New York and Plowshares Fund, as well as the Colomb Foundation, Riva and David Logan Foundation, Craig Newmark Philanthropies, Prospect Hill Foundation, and the Jubitz Family Foundation. We'll see you right back here in 2 weeks for our next episode.
No se escucha nada.
Bastante público.
Pero no se escucha.
Voy a salvar yo.
Salúdase usted.